So today's segment is about Niels Bohr, a pretty famous scientist. He was born in October 7th, 1885 in Denmark, where he spent most of his life. He was the offspring of two successful parents. His father was a mathematician and his brother was also professor of university. Most of his time he ended up in University of Copenhagen, where he spent most of his time and he added most of his contributions. Also, he worked with scientists such as Ernest Rutherford and Albert Einstein when he spent time in the States, and that's what is most known for. We're talking about Niels Bohr and some of his personal tragedy. So he lived in Denmark most of the time, but unfortunately Hitler rose to power and occupied Nazi Germany. So he was being hunted at that time because he was a prominent scientist. So he had to eventually escape from Denmark into Sweden and into the United States. But also he has some other personal tragedies, such as he lost his eldest son on a fishing trip in a storm when he was thrown overboard. So Rutherford did not, Rutherford Bohr, he didn't escape some personal tragedies of his own. So Niels Bohr went to the States to work on his nuclear weapons with Albert Einstein and some other scientists. And eventually when he came back, he was done working for them and trying to convince them the horrendous power of these weapons. Churchill and Roosevelt didn't really listen to him, so when he came back to Europe, he tried to gather his fellow scientists to try to convince to them that these weapons could really be disastrous. And he held many campaigns, such as the Atoms for Peace campaign, to try to get the countries of Europe to convince the United States not to engage in this arms race. And he spent his last couple of years lecturing all around Europe as a prominent scientist. And we're talking about Niels Bohr, who the guy actually won a Nobel Prize in physics in the 1930s. And modern societies developed Rutherford's initial thinking of the atom and put a three-dimensional spin onto it. So also his contributions were that his University of Copenhagen, a large part of it is actually named after him. He had a huge influence in Europe. And he's just a really popular scientist. Whenever you hear Niels Bohr, you think chemistry, huge scientist. Thanks everybody else.